You're listening to the Life Purpose Advisor Podcast, episode 51.
It's really wonderful. It's a great feeling to finally get that point where you've got this little thing inside of you that you can reference, that you know is that, I guess you can call it that loving place. That place that you know is a loving place. You can always use it to bounce all of your own feelings and responses from other people.
You're listening to the Life Purpose Advisor Podcast.
Life purpose, spirituality, higher calling, personal growth, meaningful life.
We ask the deep questions about living a balanced life of meaning, purpose, and joy.
Passion, know thyself, be mindful, spiritual practice, aha moments, life lessons, balance.
It is time to welcome your host, Angie Swartz.
Hello and welcome. Just a reminder that you can find most of the things that we referenced today at our show notes page at lifepurposeadvisor.com/51. Before I introduce our fabulous guest today, I wanted to just shout out to Trinace in Cleveland, Ohio, to say thank you for leaving a 5-star review for our podcast. Please consider leaving a rating or review wherever you're listening to our show. It makes all the difference, and we do appreciate your feedback. I'm very excited about the conversation that I'm going to have today with my guest, Mark Haffner. And I know that you are sitting on the edge of your chair. Mark Haffner is a storyteller, producer, and an Emmy-Award winning composer, lyricist, and writer. He is passionate about all things having to do with creativity and encouraging and nurturing self-expression in artists, writers, musicians, performers, and the everyday person, which I guess that means the rest of us. So, Mark, I'm so excited to have a conversation with you.
Hello.
Hello.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Where are you talking to us from today?
I'm in Fort Myers, Florida.
Ah, nice and cool there, I'm sure.
It's not too bad. It's actually been less humid than some places, I think, and less hot. I think you were saying it's pretty hot in San Diego.
It is very hot in San Diego today. Unusual for us here. But I'm so excited to get into our conversation. I've had the pleasure of meeting you and talking to you a few times, and I love your story and what you've been doing with your life. Are you ready to get into the nitty-gritty of the details?
Sure.
So tell everyone a little bit about your career and what you haven't always lived your life in Florida.
I grew up in Henderson, Kentucky, a place near Evansville, Indiana, and my folks are from St. Louis. I was born in Kansas City. I grew up there. Music was a big thing for me, and theater and all kinds of creative stuff. I was always doing creative stuff. I don't know how we got to be the creative family. My sister was an artist, and my other sister was a writer. And as I was telling you earlier, my kids have become creative people. So it's just sort of in the blood. But I had a rock band. We wrote a song. It went on the radio. It won a contest. It got a record deal. We turned it down. We went to college, and all of the guys of that band are still playing music today. And so there's been sort of a start that happened when we were 15, and we were all playing rock and roll, and we all could believe that we could do music for a living, and then we all did, and all 5 of us are, right now I'm not 15 years old, and some years later, it's still going for me. It's still going for all the other guys, and so there's something very special about that. As I went through my career, went through a music business degree in Nashville, also living in Sacramento and Los Angeles, and then now in Fort Myers and Los Angeles, some back and forth, and mostly working in television as a music composer, but also as a television producer doing what they call on-air promotion and advertising. I do marketing and creative direction and that sort of thing for work. But music production and mixing and all kinds of things in the studio, which is also I'm getting into podcasting too, so that's attracting me to podcasting because I know a lot of skills in audio.
Podcasting is, you said just so many things I want to ask you about in that conversation, but podcasting has just big business these days. A lot of people are doing some things with great things with podcasting, and it's really changing from the production side. And you're probably one of the guys that's going to lead some of that change, I would imagine.
You know, you're right. I am passionate about making a change for something innovative to happen in the podcasting space. I think it's gotten very monotonous, and there's a lot of clamoring and chaos right now. And so I aim to actually give some shape to some things that maybe might happen in a professional way in the podcasting space. And I love the idea that this is really focused around a person's passion. Getting into my profession, you always were required to be given a permission to do something, because as a professional, you're either paid and the project is a go or it's not. And I didn't do things on my own. And this is actually why this is a big moment of my life right at this moment, because I've always been doing someone else's message or someone else's agenda or whatever. And I was a sharpshooter at being able to deliver any and every shape of that you can imagine musically. And that's what I was and have been, and that's what I've really got some good skills to do in recording and audio and music. But still, what really matters in the end is, why are you doing this? Why did I get into music? Why did I fall in love with it? You know, why did I learn all of these skills, which, you know, can be used to make some really cool stuff? But why? You know? So I think podcasting is a great place to make those connections more organically, you know, and not just wait for the right job or wait for someone to give you permission.
And is that part of the answer for you as to why you've learned all these skills and been so successful in your music career to date?
I mean, I think that I'm interested in matching my production skills and bringing them to people for the purposes of marrying production skills with passion, you know, not just because you're some diligent actor who's willing to call an agent, you know, 100 times in a year to finally get him to say yes. You know, that's a different life. But you are just talking about yourself and doing your own thing, you know, and you can express that. You don't need anybody's permission. But you may not know how to turn it into a story. I guess I could play a little piece of that little.
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay.
Please.
This is a piece that is. It's actually what I'm developing. It's a project that are called story intros, and story intros are for podcasts, and they're basically designed to work with a person and use music. Music's always really important in everything that I do to tell your story. And so here's a little bit of my story. I'll just play a little bit of it.
When I was a boy, I lived in a small town, and we were transplants from the big city. Moved in the second grade. Took a while to fit in. Didn't feel like I fit in. Elementary school, junior high school. But my junior high went to 9th grade. And in 9th grade, things did change.
Anyway, you can see how you can start to tell a person's story.
The junior high school stuff.
You know, there's different ways you could utilize a story like this, whether it could be an introduction to your podcast, if you're a podcast person. But I'm doing this not because I want to do it professionally, although this is what I do professionally, but I just have to do the things that I really think are for the real reasons that people want to do things, you know? I don't want people to just do them because they have, you know, I can't tell you how many people in the entertainment industry who do things and are willing to do things that you and I, normal people, being normal people, would never do. You know?
For example?
Probably just being unethical most of the time and having unethical practices about the way that you everybody's doing something for somebody. You know the Hollywood thing. It's like people are, if you can do something.
You scratch my back, I scratch your back, that kind of thing?
Yeah, because, basically, as long as, I never worried about ever getting stiffed by a company or anybody. I never did because I was always delivering something that was needed. If they didn't have, see, it's hard to explain, but when you're hiring a music composer and you're about to put out a piece of media, if you don't have the license and everything secured about that music, your whole project is stopped. And so they really don't want to mess with the composer. So they'll just pay him off, and I was that guy. So I never had any problem, with people. But
some people do, you're saying?
I'm saying that as soon as you can't provide that thing they need, it's that scratch your back, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And if you can't do that, then you're out. You have to, because it is about delivery. I mean, in some ways it's fair competition, but it's just done very, I saw you at the Podcast Movement Conference in Fort Worth, and it was really a wonderful group of people. I would liken to musicians who like to play together. People who like to enjoy their music for the purposes of the music. They don't do it for some strange reason, And then there's a lot of people, but the music industry, I would not really like a lot of those people sometimes. Some of those people are also very. So I would say the entertainment industry, but on the corporate side, I had good experiences because, like I said, I was providing a service that they needed. Mm-hmm. But anyway, but this brings me to what I really want to work on right now, and I continue to write music and jingles and commercials and scoring and things for shows and dramas, web series, things like that, but not really satisfying really yet, and I thought, I like to talk, so maybe I you know what? I didn't say this to you earlier, but I am going to launch a Mark Haffner Show podcast.
Very good. And what will the Mark Haffner Show be about?
It'll be about creating your message with media and music.
And do you know what your life purpose is, Mark? Do you think all of these things have been leading up to this day now?
I do. I actually do feel very much like that everything I've learned has led up to this day. And my life's purpose, I would say that I wanted for people to see the potential in themselves that I saw in them. And I didn't tell you that the songs that I wrote when I was 15, they were A Dream in the Making and Sky's the Limit. They were both motivational songs. They were about making your dreams come true. And this was at 15. So I've been following it since then. It was already part of my psychology at that time. Mm-hmm. But I just wasn't really making that my life. I went into television as a composer. I became a professional, and I got paid really well. And it's been a great life doing music. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have a professional life in music.
And you mentioned when we were talking in the green room, so to speak, pardon me, you mentioned that you'd had a big shift in your life and that you had just decided to leave your Hollywood life, not all of it, but your Hollywood life, and move to Florida so that you could focus on something else. Can you just talk about that a little bit? And I'm interested to know how you think that's related to this change, to stepping up to a bigger version of your purpose.
Well, there was a time when our company had folded in Los Angeles, and we decided to get the children out of Los Angeles at that time because we had them in some good private schools and stuff. Or my daughter was already in kindergarten at that time, and nice kids in class and all that stuff. But I wasn't really crazy about the way the kids were, compared to what I was used to living in a small town in Kentucky. And I just didn't feel the big city was doing for what I was going to really enjoy in my children. So in moving to Florida, I ended up in a place, an island, where I purchased a house and built a studio, and raised the children and lived there for about 10 years and worked remotely. And the internet was already high speed by that point. And I could, send music tracks digitally easily, work with musicians in Nashville and Miami and Los Angeles. And anyway, it didn't matter that I was remote. So, that ended in a divorce in 2010. My children are now, there are 3 of them. 2 of them are college age and gone, and the third one is 1 year of high school to go. So I've got to be there for him, and I'm very happy how they turned out because I've been around. So that's been a very important thing. And what I continue to actually find passion in sort of say, helping people to understand about fatherhood or fathering, that sort of thing. But to get back to, what I'm really here for, where, how I've come to this point, to build those messages and those life learnings, into a new career expression, in media production for myself. And actually in co-working with people. I'm very interested in co-writing songs, co-producing shows or podcasts, or, working with talented other people, writers, hosts. That's something that I really have become very aware that no one person does everything. I mean, I do a lot. I'm the Renaissance man, but it's so much better than when we interact with each other.
You said to me also earlier that there was a time in your life that you felt very old, and now you feel very young again. What do you think what contributes to that?
Well, for me, I mean, I guess maybe people think of it differently now, but I just turned 50, and I don't feel like I'm 50, but when I was 49, I felt really old because I thought, my gosh, this is a new, chapter of my life. And maybe it is, but I feel really good about it. And it's almost the one I've been waiting for. So it doesn't feel in any way something that I'm not happy about. But at 49, for some reason, I just hadn't made that turn yet.
And what do you think what do you attribute to feeling better? What helped you make that turn? For someone that's out there listening right now in that spot, feeling very old and that life is feeling drab, what would you say to them? What happened to you?
I reached out and started communicating with people. I started developing some new friendships and getting some positive feedback. And I would say that was really also very nice to. I don't know if I should say this, but one of the things that was difficult in a family way with my family, my ex-wife and I not being very on good terms with each other, was that the children really didn't have good role models for functional, male-female relationships. And I knew this. And I did have a relationship with someone in the meantime, shortly after I was divorced for a while, who I actually ended up living with. But then I met someone else, and then that person, I would say, gave me an opportunity to give a better example to my son. So if that makes, that's really true. And it's so nice actually to say that, because I think that when you're coming out of what would be a broken family, or say the next phase of family, I don't even like to call it broken, but just say that, what happens now that my children's mom and I have moved into our own lives, to show a relationship, that's functional and happy and good to my kids is a really nice thing to do after that.
And just in summary, so you started to love again, You started to help other people. You started to get recognized again for your greatness. Is that a good summary of what you just said?
You know, I would say at this hour of this podcast, I don't feel like I'm recognized yet. I feel like I'm actually getting clear about what I am going to do and why people would want to find me, and you know what it is that I can contribute, which is always the way it works. You know, when we all contribute, then we all get together and we help each other, and the magic happens. You know.
Mm-hmm. What's your definition of recognition?
Oh gosh, I'm a musician, so it's usually a smile or somebody's twinkle, or you can see somebody's excited and I've reached them. You know, that's just bliss for me when if I'm playing some music or something and it's affected somebody in an emotional way. I don't know if that's the answer you wanted, but that's just.
I want the answer that you have. The only one that you have is the one that I want. But you had a good segue there. To maybe you have another piece of music that you could share with us that pulls at our heartstrings or gives us an emotional reaction, because that's what you just said.
Oh yeah, sure. Let's see. This is the one that was from a movie. It was a Western, and this is the theme of the hero. And when he appears, this is the hero's theme. The name of the film, the hero's theme.
We have to love that.
And the hero's name is Jericho. That's the name of the movie.
Jericho. Thank you.
Okay. Kind of a dream sequence, actually, right here. There you go. Some movie music. And we got other stuff we'll play in a little bit, I guess, right?
I'd love to. Yeah. I love how that makes me feel. I told you this before, but I love how that makes me feel in my body if you allow music to come in, and it can be so inspiring, so healing, motivating. Maybe that's why you write this music. How long does it take to make that piece of music, and what is your goal when you're writing a piece? For the reaction, my question, let me be more clear. My question is, what is your desired response from the listener?
Well, like you said, you got a sensation out of it that was pleasant for you, and that's what I'm trying to achieve. In some things, the music is telling. If you're working in film and television, I'm a film and television composer primarily. I'm also a songwriter, but in film and television, you're telling a story. Okay, and this is using music to telepathically tell you what the story is about. That's what music does. And I love doing that. I love being a part of the telling of a good story, you know, and giving that person a lesson or a learning through the connections of your mind, but your emotions too, because music, like I said, is a language all its own that telepaths a message without words.
For sure. I experienced that music and I'm very visceral and also very open because I do energy work, but I experienced that song both times as an opening of the heart, which is just a beautiful thing to do through a short segment of a piece of music.
Here, I've got another one that's a piece from Jericho. It's in a similar style. I don't think I played you this one, but it's pretty cool. I'll play just a little bit of it. Right? You were lost.
I'm like, are we doing an interview or am I at the theater?
Yeah.
So amazing.
Cool. I'm glad you like it.
I was trying to think of all the instruments that I was hearing. I think I heard a trumpet and an oboe and a French horn, and is that right?
Yes, and yes.
Beautiful, just beautiful. And I think you did your homework because I'm a trumpet player.
Oh, well, see, it was just meant to be.
So in the past, I don't play anymore. I'm just about ready to start playing a little bit with my daughter. But there you go. Thank you so much. Like, how much time does it take to create a piece like that?
It really depends on whether you do it all electronically with a computer, which you can do, or you end up recording in the studio and have to write all the parts out. When people think of a composer, they think putting all the dots on the page, and that is true when you use a live group of ensemble, but it's very expensive to do that, and so you have to do it in the studio. It generally takes less time, to do it actually live. Actually, I'd say it takes less time to do it live if, in fact, it's mostly live, because then it's just performed and it's done. Otherwise, a computer, to write a piece of like that, most of that would be written in a day or so, yeah. Probably a day. Yeah. Amazing.
A day. Yeah. Because you're you. For me, that would take like the rest of my life, but that's okay.
Well, what you have, if you're working in the, as a music composer professionally for feature films, you have about 6 to 8 weeks. And, you get 90 minutes of show. It doesn't mean you write 90 minutes of music, but you write, a lot of music, and it can be a lot of music, a 90-minute film or longer. And to do that, you kind of pace yourself by how many minutes you can write per day, and it gets a little bit crazy. And I kind of fancy myself as a creator and producer and then creator of music for my own projects as well. I'm not that I wouldn't accept a feature film project from a director if they had a really great movie to do, but for the most part, I like creating and controlling my own projects.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I like the idea of podcasting, because it's kind of the sky's the limit, and I like that.
Right. I think we talked when we met. We were having a little fireside chat, which is funny. When we were in Fort Worth, it was 100 degrees outside, but there was a big fire burning inside where we were sitting in the air conditioning. I think we were talking about that I met and talked with Kevin Pollak about the actor once, and that he had a show for that exact reason. So he was in movies and TV and a great career, but podcasting was one of his favorite things because he got to control the length, the production, what he wanted to put in it. So I think we've seen a number of actors doing podcasts and their own TV shows for that.
Well, you ask yourself the question, why do you do what you do? And that's really the question. And as a young person, I got determined, like a lot of people have to become determined, to say, I'm going to make it in the entertainment business. I'm going to be a music composer. I'm going to be this person. And you drill yourself into that career to get that job, to do that work. And that's what I did. And I was successful at it, but I wasn't ultimately I was taking the highest bidder and making pretty good money, as opposed to really choosing these music. And my friend would say, Mark, you sold out. At the time, it was a roller coaster carnival for me that I could say, I can do jazz music, and I can do hip hop music, and I can do orchestra music, and I can do, all kinds of things. It was so much fun for me to skate around and, not have to be stuck in one genre.
Mm-hmm. What will you say to you mentioned to me that your children are all pursuing creative careers or educations. What will you say to them about that topic when it comes time to start making money?
Oh, I have to say, I know that anybody can make a living in the entertainment business. Anybody. It's not about talent. It's about...
Will you tell them? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, I know that they'll be fine. I know that they will find their way to make what it is that they have to, because they're all dedicated to it, and that's all you have to be.
Will you tell them to choose the projects of their heart, or will you tell them to choose the path of success, or do you think those are one and the same, or they can interconnect?
Yeah, I would say in the old book they might not have been one and the same. But today, podcasts, whatever, making your own vision for a future of yourself, I think is very feasible, much more than ever before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I believe in that, and I think that my children will do that as well. And I don't really have any worry or doubt that's not going to happen for them.
Right. It really makes for a different world in 40 years or so. Parents like us that are encouraging their children to follow their hearts. It's really mind-blowing to think about the impact that can have. I had a guest on my show a few weeks ago, or a little longer now, Michelle Jones, who's starting a new university, the Wayfinder Academy, which is to help children really find their passion before they choose a degree, before they spend their time racking up debt in a degree that they might not want to spend their life doing.
That's great.
So I love thinking about how different life will be when my daughter is 50. So exciting things. Let me ask you, when is the first moment that you think you had recollection that your purpose had to do with music and storytelling and the things that you said it is?
Well, like I said, it happened in the songwriting in high school. I mean, when that song, I really should see if I might be able to locate it. If I can locate it real quickly, I can play it for you. It is an interview of me on the radio when I was 15.
While you're looking, do you recall, were there other hints before that happened pointing you in this direction? Do you remember ever wondering, what am I going to do with my life, or was it always pretty clear?
It was, I just enjoyed myself, and I was always doing music, and when it was time for me to choose, I would say everybody around me said, why would you do anything other than music? So it wasn't something that I really had to convince myself of. It's because everybody else... In fact, I was thinking about actually going into theater and drama and acting. And actually I had won some awards in high school for that. And done some, my friends from high school made the movie The Blair Witch Project. That I was in, I was in plays with them, and they went into filmmaking, and that was something that. And my sister was an assistant film editor and art department assistant to the art director in feature films and big features in Los Angeles, and so it was always kind of about the movies too, and so it was like, okay, is it music? Is it movies? And so that was, I think maybe where I'm at right now is I'm kind of like, okay, now it's time for my movies moment where I'm going to be producing more, television and film and commercials and video and visual communication storytelling along with the music, because music helps you tell that story.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. My belief around, and I was just reflecting on this for myself as you were talking, my belief around our life purpose, and it's written into the programs that I teach, is that every step that we've taken in our lives is getting us ready for the next step, i.e. your decision to work in Hollywood and my decision to work in the telecommunications industry and get an MBA and become a CPA, all the things that we're talking about that we were doing that didn't feel so authentic at the time were purposeful. So they were there to set us up for what's coming next. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out for you.
Well, thank you, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited about how, because I am launching a podcast, and I think that podcast will be the Mark Haffner Show. I think that's what I'm going to call it. And that's going to at least share some of the things that I know I get responses from when I share with people, but I'm not always sharing with the people I want to share with. So I think podcasting allows me a little more access for people to hear those things, and I'm excited about that. So and where that will lead me, and yeah.
And is that coming in 2015 or 2016?
Oh yeah, actually, I am setting the launch coming here, probably even prior to you releasing this. Actually, I may be launched already with that, because I'm working on the storyintros.com and the Mark Haffner Show, and that's going to be released right around the 1st of October.
Right. Exciting. You're working on a lot of things. You're working with the Podcast Professors, which is another one of your groups. Are you still working with them?
Oh, yes. Working with the Podcast Professors, do a weekly podcast with them, which I love to do. And we chit-chat about podcasting and help people. And I think we're going to start in a little while some live pod classes, we call them, where we'll do some Q&As and webinars.
Sounds like like an alien movie, some pod classes.
Pod class, yeah. It's so funny you mentioned the word pod, and even podcasting is so weird to me, and I'm not even really a fan of the word. But, you think about it, it was iPods, and it should have been like it lasted forever because they were thinking, oh, the pod will be there forever. No, the phone came. And so
I've never even thought about what podcasting meant. I should know the answer to that. Never, ever thought about that, but it is a bizarre word.
It came from iPods because there were so many gazillions of them in our youth. We were like, oh, my gosh, everybody has an iPod. If you're out of an iPod, you're cool. And so then, they realized that you can actually make a program and actually play it on all of the iPods alone. Just if there were iPods alone, that was still a lot of people. So that's what an iPod, program.
A podcast.
A podcast, because you were broadcasting to iPods.
Right.
And, but then now there are no iPods. There are only iPhones. And so that's why the word pod sounds even stranger, because the word iPod is just now gone. Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, we still have. My daughter still has an iPod Touch, so we still still have some of those.
It's almost like the word emphasizes the word touch more than pod to go iPod Touch. You know what I mean?
Right. So I want to ask you about your spiritual beliefs. Do you have a piece of music that might warm us up for that?
Probably some of the scoring stuff that I had. Put me on the spot.
I did put you on the spot.
All right, hold on.
But I know you can do it.
Yeah. Hold on. You find something really awesome.
While you're looking,
okay.
What would you consider your most famous piece of music?
Probably The Magical World of Disney.
The Magical World of Disney. Maybe you'll play that for us later. Yeah,
I can play that for you in a little bit. And I wanted to play you the funny one I played you too. I know that's not where you're
spiritual
going.
First. We'll get there.
I know. I get so okay. Here, let's find the right spiritual one here. Okay, here we go.
When you fade out the music, just tell me, what are your spiritual beliefs, Mark Haffner?
Right. All right, hold on. I will go there. And I will tell you. I'm gonna find. I think I'm just gonna turn on my my music. This is scoring. This is some film scoring music.
Please.
All right, hold on. Yeah.
When I was a boy,
there's that.
I lived in a small town.
But I'm gonna turn that guy off.
And we were transplants from the big city.
He sounds very spiritual.
He is kind of spiritual. All right, and that guy is me. All right. So see, I can talk on top of that. All right. See, there we go. A little scoring. That's what I liked about it. Even though I didn't write that music. I can write some music like that. All right. So, spiritual beliefs. In my life, I think I've learned to believe in nature. I think that a lot of the discussions about I think we're talking about spirituality and not religion. And I don't even want to talk about religion because it can be a part of spirituality, but spirituality is what's important to me, and I'm not really a religious person. But I would say I do believe that there is a circle of things that fits together. And sometimes those circles are not known to you when you're thinking as a human being. And you just have to learn what those are. And when you put them all together into a cycle of, it can go round and round, all of the pieces of whatever life is, for everyone and mutually benefiting everyone. It can work, and it does work when you get everybody together trying to work together as a team. So that's, when it comes to spirituality, I think that's what we're here to do for each other, to help each other and to, lift us all up higher by doing that.
That's very nice. Do you believe in a higher power?
I believe in a higher power in the way that I believe.
Can you help us understand that?
The way that I would believe in a higher power, like I said, it's like, okay, music is a transmission of energy. It's a messaging. If you listen to this music, it's giving you a feeling. It certainly is. It's certainly giving you a feeling that other music would not give you. And so when I look at the whole world, when I look at the higher power, I would say, that's very loud. I would say that there is something that connects us all that we need to be aware of that is one. And the idea of one is important because of the connectivity of all living things. And to think that it's not one, I think is a mistake. So, I'd say that's a higher power. Because it's the one thing we all share. Is it an intelligence that's directing us? Well, sort of. But it's not really an intelligence the way that we think of it, because it's not like us. It's something before us, something we didn't think of. We just have to figure it out. And that's how I sort of conduct my life and how I advise my children. And I would say it leads to good choices most of the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Well, I do take more responsibility with that now than I used to, because of when in my marriage, I think I allowed my wife to make those decisions for me, and I just let her. I was kind of trusting in that way, and then I just didn't really play a role, and then I realized that I needed to play a role. And it was important to me to choose the things. I'm so happy, actually, that my kids are, should I say, happy and healthy and creative and all the wonderful things they are, is that I feel like I've done it right,
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, it is a nice feeling.
Well, only magical things can happen in your next steps. I'm so looking forward to seeing what's coming. I want to go back to what you were saying about feeling very old and then feeling new again. I think those might be my words.
Okay.
But were there any tools that you used to help yourself get out of that spot? Any books or?
Oh, yes. Well,
podcasts or movies or music or any assessments, anything like that?
Yeah. This was, I guess, my transformation moment was still, spiritually, it was probably in the early 2000s. Probably 2002, 2003. And it was a decision on my part to do some self-exploration. And I did it by explaining to my ex-wife that I was going down the rabbit hole. I'm going to go, because I was just going to go explore myself. And I hadn't really been doing that. Like I said, I've been messaging for everyone else but myself. I wasn't really paying attention to what I wanted to do. So it wasn't really a selfish move, I didn't think. I just needed to figure it out because I was starting to feel a little empty. And, contributing to things that I didn't really believe in. I was like, why am I doing this? So, I did a lot of, I had a friend, who also was fairly spiritual, and he turned me on to, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And I read the book and I listened to the audio series and I started resonating with some of the things that he was saying. And, he makes some religious text references, but he doesn't really make, a religious sermon out of it or so. It's very practical. And, it's a New York Times #1 bestseller. I'm sure you're familiar with it. But I ended up listening to the audio series because I'm a very audio person, as I am music and sound. I ended up listening to the audio series just dozens of times. And I just felt myself resonating with a lot of what he was saying. So I would say a lot of my philosophies are built around some of the things that I picked up from listening to The Power of Now. And things that I already felt like were already true, though. Things that inside of me I was just like, yeah, that's how I think. And so that helped me to kind of put it all together and make it so that I could express myself. And I do think that it was a time, actually, as I was emerging from some learning from that I started sort of testing it with other people in the outside world. And I started seeing if I could, use what I learned to respond better. Because I think when I was younger, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to respond to. I didn't know what, people seemed to be all learned and knew how to say things. Even though I was college educated, I was still the music guy, and I usually just, deferred to a lot of other people's decisions and I make the music, So it's really wonderful. It's a great feeling to finally get that point where you've got this little thing inside of you that you can reference, that is that, I guess you can call it that loving place, that place that is a loving place. And if you can always use it to bounce anything and everybody, all of your own feelings and responses from other people from that. And you know what, I got it from animals too. I didn't mention that. I had a dog that was a friend, a family pet at the time of my discord in my marriage, and my daughter, I think, got a lot of comfort from being with that animal, and I started to realize the serenity that she was gaining from just being, with that animal. And that really actually made me, I don't know what it was, but I got to actually be able to touch animals much better after that. Like when you pet animals, they just have a response. It's basically whether they like what you're doing. But I'm just saying I have a much better touch now with animals in communicating something through touch since that time, because I realized that sort of, I don't know, peaceful, when you hug somebody, you get that peaceful sort of peacefulness that my daughter was gaining from being, near this animal, and it was such a loving creature. Anyway, it helped me to really understand the power of how love is kind of the answer, and it all points back to that. I would say my philosophy does fit inside that everything points back into a loving way of treating each other, and how people, if you're not doing it in a loving way, why aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're making a mistake, it's okay. We all get, off our horse. And
I was just going to ask you about that, whether you ever got off track, and if you had any kind of practices that reminded you or kept you getting back on the path.
Writing. I would say writing. Writing and being alone. Although, I was always kind of being dad and kids and all that stuff. So, it is hard to really focus sometimes with all of that going on. But yeah, I would say writing, in the early...
Like writing in a journal? Writing...
Yeah, I would either write in journals. I mean, these days I write in Evernote, but yes, I mean, I just write every morning. I write every morning now. That was something, this is just another story. This happened in the last year, actually. You asked things that happened, and I didn't remember this until just now. I had really been wanting to, pursue something new and different, and I started doing some writing, but I hadn't felt like I'd made any breakthroughs. And then one Saturday morning, I got up like at 4 a.m, and I started writing, and I wrote for like 4 hours until like 8 a.m. And I had written so much stuff. Some of it was musical lyrics for songs. Some of it was just prose or writing or journaling. Some of it was creative stuff I might be able to use in a story or something. I read a lot of different things, but I was so excited. I called my daughter and I started talking to her, and right when I was talking to her, a glitch happened and it erased it. I was so devastated. I couldn't believe, it was such a catharsis that it happened. I could not believe that I had lost this writing. And it was so important. I was calling my family. I was telling them it was like a lifetime of material that I could draw from, and I was just so excited about it. And then it went up in smoke. And so it was just, I told my daughter I'd call her back, and I didn't call her back for days. And she's a writer too. And she knew that I was upset. But I thought, what does this mean? And what I realized it ultimately meant is that I need to write. I just need to write all the time. Because writing one day for 4 hours, even though it was a great moment, is not all the writing that I'm capable of. And I have a lot of life of writing that I can do every single day for hours and hours. And I like it. I do like writing. I do enjoy writing, and I like writing to solve problems or to, create things to help, give good messages to the world. So, does that help?
It's a great story. So you're writing every day. You spend time alone. Anything active that is a part of your practice? Or
you mean as
nature,
far as well, I'm actually, this is kind of funny. I'm actually a Boy Scout leader. I've been a Boy Scout leader since my youngest son was in the 2nd grade. And he's a senior in high school. He's about to finish his Eagle project as a Boy Scout. And I do that on the island with the island folks out there. So it's still an island experience, and they are now moving, since it's older group of kids, they now move into what's called a venture crew, which is the next group after the Boy Scouts. And it includes members that can be girls, and there always could be female leaders, but there can be girl members, and it's all ages 14 to 21, and they do adventures together. And so I'll be meeting with that group like once every 6 weeks to do stuff with kids, and we'll do, camping and boating activities, and they do diving, and although I haven't been diving, I am certified to dive, and I was certified a couple of summers ago to be a lifeguard. So, I do some things. I spend a lot of time writing and in the recording studio and in the studio in a darkened place where I don't get much physical activity. But I do those things, and
nice. So it all sounds wonderful. So it's not a part of your daily practice, but it sounds like it is part of your life routine, that you're out there spending time in nature at some point in time.
I would say, just as I was saying about my daily practice, I drink a lot of water. I generally feel a lot better if I'm just not, trying to eat everything.
Right.
I enjoy eating, but I've gotten to a point now where I can just eat what I want, and I'm done, and I'm okay, and that's it. It's really a good thing, because I grew up more of my father's background being from more of a Jewish heritage is eat everything on your plate, and you don't leave any food, and you can overeat that sort of way. Mm-hmm. And it sort of ran in my family that almost everybody in the family was overeaters for that reason. So as an older, mature person, I feel great, and I get plenty of sleep. I actually sleep because I work from home. I actually sleep when I'm tired. So there's my daily practice too.
What a crazy idea! Sleep when you're tired, eat when you're hungry, listen to your body.
Yeah,
crazy, crazy stuff.
Sounds so crazy, yeah. But that's what I do. I have gotten through phases of doing weightlifting and calisthenics and stuff, and there was a period where I actually installed a chin-up bar in my studio, and I was doing about 30 chin-ups, about 3 sets a day, and that was some years ago, but But I'm doing them some now, and it's enough for me to feel really like I've got a lot of energy. So.
Gotcha. May I ask you a lightning round of yes, no, short answer questions?
Let's go.
Do you think passion and purpose are the same things?
Yes.
Do you think everybody has a life purpose?
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how important is following your own joy and igniting your life purpose?
How important is it to what?
Follow your joy.
Gosh, it's a 10, of course. Yeah.
Did you ever quit your job to follow your purpose, and do you think somebody needs to quit?
I would say I'm kind of quitting my job right now. I mean, I've been working for corporations, writing music for, whoever had a checkbook, and now I'm really interested in still, making a living doing what I do and what I know how to do, but I want to do it only with the people I want to do it with and for the right reasons. So right now is a greater time than ever. I think I kind of do believe that podcasting is a great thing to happen for people to unite their businesses and their purposes. I think that helps a great deal. So this is a great time to be doing that, and it happens to be my time. So,
all right. What brings you great joy?
Oh, I love being with my family. I love music. That's pretty simple.
That's good. If you unexpectedly amassed a good-sized fortune, what would you do differently?
Oh, I would be probably traveling, making new projects with people with that money to spread good messages.
Beautiful. Please keep me on that list. I can't wait to see you. And tell me, what should listeners learn from your life?
Believe in yourself, and you can do anything you want to do.
Nice. And can I talk you into the Disney song before we get ready to close?
I think so. I think we've got that over here. Let's make sure that the volume's turned up.
So you think maybe we've heard this before?
Yeah, this is, to tell you what it is the Magical World of Disney musical theme. It's about 30 seconds long. It was recorded with a live orchestra and singers and a band and all of that stuff. It does have animation that was done by Disney of Tinkerbell, who flies to the Magic Castle. And this piece was used for about the first 3 years of the Disney Channel at 7 o'clock at night before they would play the movies, Disney movies or family-oriented movies. And that was right in the developing of their programming. So once they, started getting more of their TV shows, they started doing less of their movies. But this ran for many years. So you might recognize it. A lot of people say, oh, I remember that from when I was a kid, depending on how old you are. But I'll play this for you. I
love it. Love it so much. I love how different you feel listening to all these different pieces of your music.
Oh yeah, I've got all kinds of different stuff. I could do this for hours, and I have so much fun, going in all of these different emotional places with music. It's just so much fun.
I know that we're just about out of time. I know you have a great story that we're going to have to come back to next time we talk about working in the rapper community, and I'd love to cover that with you another time, but I don't want to miss out on talking about how people can get in touch with you and learn more about what you're doing. So can you tell us your websites and how people can find you?
All right. So you can find me on Twitter at MHPROD. MHPROD, at MHPROD. You can contact me through Twitter. You can also email me, mark@markhaffner.com. And I have not officially announced this yet, but I will go ahead and mention it here on your show because we've just decided that we're going to be building the markhaffnershow.com for a October launch, October 1st, hopefully. So that I think that might even be before this launches, this comes out. And a new editorial business working with podcasting called storyintros.com. So there you go.
And we heard a little bit of story intros when you were telling your own story earlier in the show. So thank you for that, that little snippet into what that's going to sound like. So, cool. Mark, thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your story. I know that you are on your way to doing big things and happier things. Thank you, Angie. And I support what you're doing with your show, and thank you for having me on your show. And you're doing the right stuff. I appreciate your support. Thank you. Thank you so much. You've been listening to the Life Purpose Advisor podcast with me, Angie Swartz, and my wonderful guest, Mark Haffner, today. If you like what you heard today, please listen to some other episodes. You can find them all at lifepurposeadvisor.com/iTunes. You can also leave a rating or a review. If you're interested in finding your own life purpose, I'm happy to work with you on that. You can sign up for a free self-study at lifepurposeadvisor.com or send me an email directly, Angie@lifepurposeadvisor.com. And we'll see you next time.